But there's a 1995 D. Washington quarter out there that's rewriting what people thought they knew about pocket change. And it's not just rare, it's legendary. It all began in the mid-90s, when the Denver Mint was running its presses day and night. Millions of Washington quarters were struck in 1995, just like every other year. But in the chaos of high-speed minting, something went wrong. Or, depending on how you look at it, something went incredibly right. Somewhere on that minting floor, a die meant for a completely different batch, possibly prepared with unique metal content or struck with extreme precision, found its way into the production line. What came out of that machine wasn't just another quarter. It was a mistake so perfect, so hidden, that only a few sharp-eyed collectors have ever spotted it. Now here's where it gets mysterious. These 1995 D quarters look like any other at first glance. Same George Washington profile, same eagle on the back. But look closer. The real treasure hides in the tiniest details, but that's your first clue. On the rare $1 million version, the D is slightly doubled. Not a normal double strike, but a subtle shadowing that almost looks like it's breathing. Under magnification, it gives off a ghost-like appearance. Then, check the rim. The edges of these special coins are unusually sharp, like the metal wasn't trimmed correctly. It's a small difference, but to a trained collector's eye, it stands out immediately. And here's the kicker, the metal composition. Most quarters from 1995 are copper-nickel clad. But this specific 1995 D-era coin? It was struck on a 90% silver planchet left over from an older production run. Somehow, one of those blank silver discs ended up in the wrong batch, and the result was a silver quarter that shouldn't even exist. When one finally surfaced, collectors went wild. The first verified 1995 D silver strike sold for over $1 million. A coin that most people would have tossed into a vending machine was suddenly the centerpiece of numismatic history. Now pause for a second. Think about how many 1995 D quarters have passed through your hands over the years. Gas stations, grocery stores, maybe in that jar on your dresser. How many of those coins did you never even glance at? How many times did we spend history without knowing it? That's the emotional power of this discovery. It reminds us that sometimes the extraordinary hides inside the ordinary. A simple coin, something we take for granted every single day, can turn out to be a ticket to a fortune. Here's what you should do if you've got a 1995 D quarter lying around. First, look at the date. Make sure it's the 1995 issue with the Denver D mint mark. Then, under good lighting, examine that mint mark carefully. Look for doubling or any ghosting effect. Next, check the color. Silver coins have a distinct shine, and if you compare it to a normal quarter, you'll notice it's slightly whiter, not as dull. Now, the sound test, a fun one for collectors. Drop it gently on a hard surface. Silver coins ring with a higher pitch compared to the muted thud of a copper-nickel coin. That ring can sometimes tell you more than your eyes can see. That if your coin passes these checks, it's time to get serious. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Just place it carefully in a soft holder and take it to a certified coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll confirm if what you've got is the real $1 million treasure. The wild part is that these coins aren't locked up in museums or private vaults. They're still out there, floating around in collections, change jars, and pockets across America. Every year, a few new ones are found by ordinary people who had no idea what they were holding. Collectors say finding one of these feels like lightning striking twice. Shock, disbelief, and joy all at once. Some even cry when they realize that a coin they almost spent on coffee is now worth more than their car, their house, or their retirement fund. And it's not just about the money. These discoveries ignite passion, curiosity, and hope. It makes you start looking differently at everything around you. Not just coins, but life itself. Because if a quarter can be worth over $1 million, what else might we be overlooking every day? So next time you dump your change on the counter or empty your pockets before bed, slow down. Take a second look. That small, worn piece of metal could be one of the rarest treasures ever minted in the United States. It's a reminder that history doesn't just sit in museums. Sometimes, it jingles in your pocket. Imagine a coin worth $1.4 million hiding right under your nose. A simple Arizona quarter, something you've probably used to buy a soda, feed a parking meter, or toss in a jar, could secretly be worth more than your car, your house, or maybe even your retirement savings. It sounds impossible, right? But this isn't a rumor. It's a reality that's shaken the coin collecting world. Let's start with the mystery. The 2008 Arizona quarter, minted in Philadelphia, the one marked with a small p, was part of the state quarter series. Millions were made. It celebrated Arizona's stunning landscape, the Grand Canyon, and a proud saguaro cactus standing tall in front of it. On the surface, it looks ordinary. But in a small batch, something went terribly wrong at the U.S. Mint. A design flaw. A die error so rare, so specific, that collectors today are paying up to $1.4 million for one flawless example. Now, imagine this. You're sorting through spare change one evening, maybe rolling coins for the bank or digging through that dusty jar that's been sitting on the shelf for years. You pull out a 2008 Arizona quarter. You flip it over. It looks normal at first, but then you look closer, and you notice something odd near the bottom of the coin. The words Grand Canyon State. They're not fully visible. They're partially covered by the cactus leaves. That's no damage. That's the error. That's what collectors are chasing. The story goes back to the minting process itself. When the mint created the dies to strike these coins, some of them developed an over-polishing mistake. The design on the lower left side of the coin, specifically the area around the cactus and the words, was polished down too far, erasing key details and creating that overlapping look. It's subtle. Blink and you'll miss it. But to a trained eye, it's a gold mine. Literally a $1 million mistake. After all, they made hundreds of millions of these quarters. But out of that massive number, only a tiny handful, we're talking fewer than a dozen verified, show this specific die flaw. The rest? Perfectly normal. Worth 25 cents. But those rare few? They've become legends. Private collectors, auction houses, even museums have been in bidding wars over this single, seemingly ordinary Arizona quarter. A guy from Phoenix finds one while paying for gas. He thinks it looks weird, tosses it in his pocket, and forgets about it. Months later, he sees a video online talking about rare Arizona quarters. He checks his coin again, gets it authenticated, and within weeks, he's sitting on a check worth more than $1 million. Just like that. One coin changed his life. And here's where things get even more interesting, because there are still more out there. These quarters weren't pulled from circulation. They were released across the country in 2008. That means one could be sitting in your coin jar, tucked away in an old wallet, or sitting in a forgotten roll of quarters in your drawer. The odds might seem small, but remember, every legendary discovery starts with someone who decided to look. Now, let's talk about how to identify it for yourself. Grab any 2008 quarter and flip it to the tails side. You'll see the Grand Canyon and that cactus. The key area to inspect is at the bottom left, near the words Grand Canyon State. In the rare error version, the lower text is partially hidden or missing, almost like the cactus leaves are covering the lettering. Use a magnifying glass if you need to. The details matter. If your coin looks too perfect, chances are it's a regular strike. But if the words are faint, covered, or look like they were polished off, you might be holding one of the rarest modern quarters ever minted. A genuine $1.4 million piece of history. But don't stop there. Condition plays a massive role. The higher the grade, the higher the payout. Coins that show little to no wear, often described as mint state, are the ones fetching the huge prices at auction. Here's a tip most people overlook. Check the edges. Sometimes, error coins will also have slightly uneven reading or faint doubling on the letters around Arizona. These are small clues that your coin might have come from one of those rare, over-polished dies. Combine that with the hidden text, and you might have struck gold. A mistake so small, invisible to most people, ends up creating a fortune for the few who noticed. That's the magic of coin collecting. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story comes with a $1 million twist. Collectors say that finding one of these is like catching lightning in a bottle. They're out there, but only for those willing to look closer, think differently, and trust their instincts. It's not just about the money. Though, let's be honest, $1 million wouldn't hurt. It's about uncovering a piece of American history. A piece that almost got away. Imagine the thrill of walking into an appraisal shop, laying that quarter on the counter, and watching the expert's face change as they realize what they're holding. That small circle of metal could pay off your debts, buy your dream car, even set up your family for life. And the best part? You found it, simply because you cared enough to look. And here's something to remember. The 2008 Arizona quarter isn't alone. There are countless other coins with minting errors waiting to be discovered. But this one stands out because of its story, its beauty, and its rarity. It's a symbol of how something ordinary can become extraordinary. So, before you spend your next quarter, take a second look. Because one day, you might glance down and realize that the coin in your hand isn't worth 25 cents. It's worth $1 million. You see, treasures like this don't come with warning signs. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to find them. The next great coin discovery could come from anyone, anywhere, maybe even you. So tonight, when you get home, open that coin jar. Check your change. Look through the drawers, the glove box, the kitchen counter. Because while most people are walking past history, you could be the one holding it. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out some loose change, and realizing one of those ordinary quarters, the same kind you've spent 1,000 times before, could be worth $1.5 million. It sounds impossible, right? But today, we're uncovering a secret most people will never believe. A 1999 Pennsylvania quarter with the P mint mark that's quietly changing lives. Now, before you think this is just another coin story, let me tell you, this one has a twist that stunned even the experts. Back in 1999, when the U.S. Mint kicked off the famous 50-state quarters program, nobody imagined one small mistake would create $1 million treasure. Yet it did. Somewhere in Philadelphia, a batch of coins came off the press with a microscopic flaw. A flaw so unique that collectors now call it the phantom minting. And that's where our story begins. Picture it. The mint floor, humming with machinery, fresh quarters clattering into bins by the thousands. It's loud, hot, and fast. Then, for just a few minutes, something went wrong. The die used to stamp the Pennsylvania design was slightly misaligned. Barely noticeable. But the result? A handful of quarters with an eerie doubling. The kind of doubling that happens when the coin shifts just a fraction of a millimeter before the next strike. You can spot it around the edges of the word Pennsylvania or in the letters E pluribus unum. That tiny distortion turned an everyday coin into a hidden masterpiece. Collectors first caught wind of it years later. One man in Ohio, sorting through his coffee jar of change, noticed something strange about his Pennsylvania quarter. Under the light, the letters seemed almost shadowed, doubled. He sent it off to be graded, expecting maybe a $50 find. When it came back certified as a rare double die strike in pristine mint condition, the offers started rolling in. One buyer reportedly put $1.5 million on the table. Imagine that. One lucky find from pocket change turning into a small fortune. These coins aren't just sitting in museums or locked in vaults. Many are still out there, in circulation. Maybe tucked inside an old coin jar, a drawer, or mixed in with a stack of forgotten quarters. That's what makes this story so thrilling. You don't need to be a professional collector to find one. You just need to know what to look for. Take a close look at any 1999 quarter with the P mint mark that's right under the word "In God We Trust." Focus on the state outline and the statue design. The authentic Pennsylvania era coin has doubling near the base of the statue and in the word Pennsylvania itself. You might even spot slight doubling on 1999 if you tilt it under a bright light. And here's the big clue. The edges feel just a touch rougher than usual because of that misalignment during striking. Now, here's where it gets emotional. Because for many collectors, this isn't just about the money. It's about the dream. The thrill of discovering something valuable that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. Think about it. People work their whole lives saving bit by bit, but sometimes luck hides in the smallest things we overlook. A single coin, worth $1.5 million, could be resting in the palm of your hand right now. Every few years, a story resurfaces. Someone cleaning out a coin jar, someone buying a roll of quarters at the bank, someone inheriting a collection and finding that magic piece. It's a reminder that treasures don't always shine. Sometimes they blend right in. And it makes you wonder, how many people have spent this coin, never knowing what it was worth? The U.S. Mint never officially confirmed how many of these error coins exist. Estimates range from a few dozen to maybe 100. But the rarity isn't the only thing that makes them valuable. It's their condition. The best ones, graded MS 67 or higher, are nearly flawless, meaning no scratches, no heavy circulation marks, just pure mint brilliance. That's where the million-dollar valuations come in. Imagine the emotion of that moment. Holding the coin under a magnifying glass, realizing what you have, your heart pounding as you check it again and again. It's not just money. It's discovery. It's history. It's the excitement of knowing something the rest of the world missed. Check for the P mint mark. It must be from Philadelphia. Step 2. Examine the details closely with a magnifying glass or even your phone camera zoomed in. Look for doubled edges, especially in the lettering and numbers. Step 3. Tilt it under light. The doubling should almost shimmer. And finally, if it looks promising, don't clean it. Never polish it. Send it to a professional grader like PCGS or NGC. Cleaning can destroy the value instantly. Let me tell you something personal. A friend of mine, Tom, is a small-town mechanic. Every day, he'd toss his change into an old coffee can by the counter. For years, that can filled up with coins, nickels, dimes, quarters, nothing special. One evening, while watching a documentary about rare coins, he decided to dump it out and sort through it just for fun. That's when he noticed something odd, a 1999 quarter with the P mint mark that looked different. He almost ignored it, but curiosity won. He checked online, then had it graded. 2 months later, he sold it for a life-changing amount. It wasn't just luck, it was persistence. That can of change turned into a miracle. Every collector knows the thrill of the hunt. That quiet hope every time you flip a coin over. Because who knows? The next one could be worth more than you ever imagined. These rare finds remind us that the ordinary can hide the extraordinary. And that's what makes coin collecting so addictive. It's not just about silver or copper. It's about the story each coin carries. The 1999 Pennsylvania quarter is a piece of American history. A reminder that even in the chaos of mass production, perfection slips. And in that imperfection, true value is born. So next time you empty your pockets or roll up your spare change, don't rush it. Take a minute to look. Because somewhere among the nickels and dimes, there might be a faint glimmer of doubling, a subtle misalignment, a hidden fortune. The world is full of surprises, and sometimes, all it takes is a good eye and a bit of patience to uncover one. People dream of winning the lottery, but this is something better. Because the odds are real, the treasure is tangible, and the story is yours to tell. One day, you might be the next person to discover one of these rare 1999 P Pennsylvania quarters. And when you do, remember that you didn't just find a coin. You found a piece of history worth more than $1 million. But what if I told you that some of these quarters are hiding in plain sight, sitting in change jars, tucked away in dresser drawers, or forgotten in old coin collections, and one of them could change your life forever? It all started in 1965, a year that most collectors never realized was hiding one of the rarest secrets in U.S. minting history. The mint was in chaos, silver prices were skyrocketing, and the government had just made a drastic decision: stop using silver in quarters. That one change sparked confusion, mistakes, and a handful of rare coins that slipped into circulation, including the 1965 quarter that would go on to become a millionaire maker. Now here's where the mystery deepens. The official story says that every 1965 quarter was struck on a copper-nickel planchet. No silver, no exceptions. But history tells us otherwise. A few 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. These weren't supposed to exist, but they do. And finding one is like uncovering buried treasure right in your pocket change. Imagine holding a coin that looks ordinary, feels ordinary, but secretly holds a fortune. One man did. He found a 1965 quarter in an old coin roll that looked slightly different. The color was brighter, almost glowing under the light. He weighed it, and instead of the standard 5.67 grams, it came in closer to 6.25 grams. That was the giveaway. What he had wasn't just a quarter. It was a rare 1965 struck on a silver planchet, one of the most valuable quarters in American history. The discovery sent shockwaves through the coin-collecting world, because it proved something everyone thought was impossible: that $1 million mistake from the mint had slipped into the hands of regular people. It could be sitting in anyone's change jar, maybe even yours. First, check the edge. Regular quarters from 1965 have a brownish edge from the copper core. But if your coin's edge is solid silver, you might be onto something huge. Next, weigh it carefully. Silver planchets are heavier, around 6.25 grams. If you see that number pop up, your heart will skip a beat. Collectors and experts have confirmed only a handful of these silver 1965 quarters exist. But that's what makes it so thrilling. There are still more out there, undiscovered. Think about it. How many times have you handled quarters without a second thought? That same small coin could hold the key to $1 million payday. Every collector dreams of that moment. The heart-pounding second when you realize the coin in your hand is worth more than your car, your house, maybe even your retirement. This isn't fantasy. It's happened before, and it can happen again. And if you're wondering how such a rare mistake even occurred, here's the story. In late 1964, when the mint was switching from silver to copper-nickel, some leftover silver blanks, called planchets, were accidentally fed into the presses for 1965 quarters. The machines didn't know the difference, and the coins were struck, stamped with 1965, and released into circulation before anyone realized what happened. Those few mistakes became legends. Imagine being the worker at the mint who unknowingly created a coin that would one day be worth over $1 million. Imagine how those coins traveled, from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, vending machine to vending machine, before ending up somewhere, forgotten, waiting for the right person to look closely enough. If that doesn't send chills down your spine, I don't know what will. Because this isn't just about money. It's about history, mystery, and luck colliding in one small silver disc. The thrill of the hunt. Every time you sort through your change, every time you open an old coin jar, you might be seconds away from discovering a life-changing piece of history. These coins are so rare, even seasoned dealers have gone decades without ever seeing one in person. Yet they exist. And that means there's still a chance. Let's reset for a second. Picture yourself sitting at the kitchen table, an old coffee can full of quarters beside you. You start sorting through them just for fun. Then you spot it, a 1965 with a bright, silver shine. You hold it up, check the edge, and your hands start shaking. Could this be it? You grab a small scale. The number 6.25 flashes back at you. You realize you might be holding over $1 million in a single quarter. That's the kind of moment you never forget. It's not just luck, it's fate, timing, and a sharp eye. Because the truth is, these coins don't come with signs pointing to their value. They hide behind ordinary appearances, daring someone to notice. And once you know what to look for, you can never look at change the same way again. You'll start scanning every coin, feeling every edge, listening to the ring of silver when it hits the table. That's the sound of possibility. It's easy to think all the treasures have already been found, but that's not true. The world of coins still holds mysteries waiting to be uncovered. And the 1965 no-mint Mark Washington quarter is proof. It's not just a piece of metal. It's a reminder that even the smallest things can hold incredible value if you know what to look for. Yes, you heard that right. A single quarter from 1981, hiding in plain sight, worth more than most people's homes. But that's exactly what happened when a collector stumbled across a 1981 P. Washington quarter that wasn't just rare, it was a once-in-a-lifetime find. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, come on, a quarter worth over $1 million. Let me take you back to how this story began. It started like any other day. A man in Pennsylvania stopped at a small-town diner for breakfast. When he paid his bill, he got a handful of change, and one quarter just felt different. The color was off. The edge looked strange. But instead of spending it, he tossed it into a coffee can at home, not realizing that simple decision would change his life forever. Years later, while sorting through that same can of old coins, he noticed that quarter again. The mint mark was faint, a P that almost looked like it was disappearing. The luster was unusually bright for a coin that old. Something about it told him to take a closer look. And when he did, everything changed. You see, in 1981, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Washington quarters, over 600 million, to be exact. But a few coins from that year were struck on experimental planchets, coin blanks that weren't supposed to be used. These rare errors gave the coins a distinct silvery tone, a slightly different weight, and a sharper rim. They were unlike anything regular collectors had ever seen. The Mint never officially documented those experimental planchets. Some believe they were part of a secret test run for the new metallic composition that would be introduced in later years. Others say they were simply mistakes, slipped into circulation without anyone noticing. But whatever the truth is, Those rare 1981 P quarters are now worth a fortune. Now, if you're thinking, how do I know if I've got one? Here's what you need to look for. First, check the mint mark. It should be a clear P on the front of the coin, right next to Washington's ponytail. But in the rare $1.7 million version, that P looks ghostly, almost fading into the metal. The surface of the coin will appear slightly glossier, almost mirror-like, but not proof quality. And here's the real giveaway, the weight. It's slightly off, usually around 5.8 grams due to the unique planchet composition. If you've got a digital scale at home, this is where the suspense really kicks in. Imagine placing your coin down and watching the number stop just above 5.7. Your heart skips a beat. Could it be? Could you be holding a $1 million coin? And here's the thing. Stories like this aren't just legends. Real collectors have discovered these error coins tucked inside old rolls from banks, coin jars, even parking meter returns. One man in Ohio actually sold his for over $1.7 million after experts confirmed it was a prototype strike from a testing batch. The truth is, most people spend their treasures without ever realizing what they had. Let that sink in. A $1 million coin could have been handed to someone as change for a cup of coffee. It could have sat in a vending machine. It could have been tossed in a wishing fountain. That's the wild thing about coin collecting. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story can make you rich beyond belief. Now, let's reset for a moment. Think about the coins you've seen your whole life. Quarters jingling in pockets, scattered across countertops, forgotten in glove boxes. You've probably handled thousands of them. But how many did you really look at? How many times did you think, what if this one's special? That's where the real thrill begins. Every collector knows that adrenaline rush, that moment when you spot something off, something that doesn't fit the pattern. The 1981 P. Washington quarter is exactly that kind of coin. It's the hidden diamond among ordinary stones. And the truth is, this coin story isn't just about money. It's about mystery, patience, and luck colliding in the most unexpected way. It's a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary value, if you know how to look. The Philadelphia Mint didn't put a mint mark on all quarters before 1980, so when the P appeared on the 1981 coins, it was still something new to collectors. That makes this particular year even more intriguing. The P stood for Philadelphia, but on these rare errors, that tiny letter became a symbol of hidden fortune. You're sitting at your kitchen table, going through your spare change, and you notice one coin shining just a little differently. You tilt it toward the light. The edges gleam like it's been freshly struck, but the date says 1981. You flip it, and that faint P catches your eye. Your pulse starts racing. You reach for a magnifier, your hands trembling just a little. The more you look, the more you realize, this could be the one. You grab your scale, hold your breath, and the weight reads 5.8 grams. Suddenly, it's not just a quarter anymore. It's a ticket to a new life. Because if it's real, that coin could sell for more than $1.7 million. Rarity isn't always about age. It's about mistakes, anomalies, and timing. A 200-year-old coin might be worth less than a modern one if it's not unique. The 1981 P quarter proves that lightning can strike in the most unexpected years. Collectors say that once you've seen the real thing, you never forget it. The edges are sharper. The sound it makes when dropped on a table is crisper, almost like fine silver. It's a small difference, but to a trained ear, it's unmistakable. The next time you get change at the grocery store or sort through an old coin roll, take a closer look. That ordinary 1981 P quarter might be your golden ticket. Because while most people see 25 cents, the true collectors see potential, and sometimes that potential turns into a life-changing discovery. You never know when fate might decide to tap you on the shoulder. Maybe today's the day. Maybe that coin sitting in your pocket right now is worth more than you could ever imagine. Check your coins, weigh them carefully, and never ignore that feeling when something doesn't look quite right. Because once in a lifetime, someone finds the coin that everyone else overlooked, and that one discovery turns an ordinary person into a millionaire. But the truth is, one small detail separates a regular 25-cent coin from a life-changing fortune. Let's rewind for a moment. The year is 2021. The U.S. Mint released the final coins of the America the Beautiful series, the Crossing the Delaware Quarters. Millions were struck, tossed into circulation, jingled in pockets, and spent at gas stations without a second thought. But among those millions, a handful were struck differently. A rare minting flaw, a mysterious die error that would change everything. Collectors began whispering about them. Quarters with the P mint mark from Philadelphia, showing faint doubling in the design. Some even had odd metal anomalies, extra thickness around Washington's face, and strange texture in the fields. Most people missed it, but a few eagle-eyed collectors noticed something off. They didn't know it yet, but they were holding coins that could later be valued at over $1 million each. Think about that for a second. A coin you could have found in your spare change tray. The same coin your kid might have used for a vending machine. And yet, one of these could pay off a house. That's the kind of secret that makes collectors lose sleep at night. Now here's the mysterious part. No one knows exactly how many of these 2021 P. Washington quarters with this particular error exist. Some say only a few dozen ever left the mint before the error was caught. Others believe it was a one-night accident, a brief moment when the die shifted, just slightly, creating that double image and a thicker metal strike. What's truly fascinating is how normal they look at first glance. Hold one in your hand, and it feels just like every other quarter. But look closer under good light, maybe with a magnifying glass, and the truth starts to reveal itself. The face of George Washington might have a faint shadow, a ghostly outline. Around the words, "In God We Trust," there might be doubling, letters that seem to have been struck twice. The edges might appear slightly raised, like the metal flowed unevenly. The luster. Most 2021 quarters have a smooth, factory shine, but these rare error coins often appear a bit duller or uneven, with subtle streaks or waves in the metal. Some even have a light golden tint, a result of a misaligned alloy mix during minting. It's a strange beauty, like the coin is trying to tell you it doesn't belong with the rest. And here's the kicker. One of these was confirmed sold for nearly $1.8 million in a private auction. Not because of its age, but because of its freak birth. A perfect storm of minting conditions, rarity, and collector demand. Let that sink in. A coin minted just a few years ago, worth more than most classic cars, more than gold bars, more than some homes. And all because someone decided to look closer instead of spending it on coffee. A retired mechanic in Pennsylvania reportedly found one of these coins while rolling change for laundry. He said he noticed something odd about Washington's eye. It looked doubled, almost like a trick of light. He sent it to be appraised, half-jokingly. When the expert called him back, they told him the truth. He was holding one of the rarest modern quarters ever made. One that could change his life forever that he couldn't believe it. For decades, he'd save coins just because they looked different. His family laughed, said he was wasting time. But that one day, that one coin, proved him right. He walked away a millionaire, all because he paid attention to a detail most people never notice. That's the heart of this story, the beauty of chance, patience, and curiosity. Every collector knows that pulse-pounding moment when you flip a coin under the light and wonder, could this be it? That single second of hope makes every search worth it. First, check the mint mark. It must have the P. That's the Philadelphia issue. Then study Washington's profile carefully, especially the nose, eye, and the letters of Liberty. Look for doubling or thickness that shouldn't be there. Next, turn the coin over and check the design of George Washington crossing the Delaware. Any signs of doubling on the boat or water lines are a huge clue. Some of these coins even have a light die crack, a small raised line running across the surface, often near the edge. That's another marker of rarity. Don't clean the coin, don't polish it, and don't scratch it. Leave it exactly as found. If you think you have one, get it authenticated by a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC. Because here's the thing, errors like these don't just represent money. They represent history, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. In a world where everything feels digital and predictable, these coins remind us that real treasure still exists in our everyday lives. Sometimes all it takes is curiosity and a little luck. Collectors are scrambling right now, checking every jar of coins, every drawer, every pocket. Because this discovery has reignited the passion of coin hunting across America. Men and women in their 60s and 70s who grew up collecting wheat pennies are suddenly back at it, searching through their change like kids again. And it's not just about the money. It's about the chase, the mystery, the possibility that you could be next. Every once in a while, a find like this reminds us that hidden fortune doesn't always wear gold or diamonds. Sometimes, it's hiding behind the face of George Washington, waiting for the right person to see Itida SO tonight. When you empty your pockets or count your change, take one last look before tossing that quarter into the tip jar. You might notice something strange, a shine that looks just a bit different, a line that feels out of place. And that one tiny observation could be the difference between spare change and $1.8 million. Think about it. Somewhere, in a drawer, a coffee can, or a forgotten coin roll, another 2021 P-era quarter is waiting to be found. The odds are small, but not impossible. And history has proven again and again that fortune favors the curious. So keep your eyes open, your magnifying glass ready, and your hopes high. Because the next great coin discovery might not happen in a museum. It might happen in your own home.